Hello everyone, I'm Charna Weise and welcome to Expressions, a half hour dedicated to the University of Central Florida and its artists and the arts. Today, joining us is one of my favorite people, Dr. Kristin Congdon, who is a specialist in folklore art and just got back from China for the second time and is making this wonderful global connection between UCF and the artist in China.
Right.
But, you know, this whole show is because of you.
Oh, well, that's really exciting.
When you were on last time, we were mostly doing authors, and we talked and we thought we need to expand this to the arts. Right. And it's been so wonderful.
Yes, I'm so glad about that because there's so many things happening at UCF regarding the arts and the humanities, and this is a chance for us to sort of talk about those and get them out there.
Oh my, and it's been so much fun learning about all the things that's being done. Now, when I spoke to you last, you were getting ready to go to China, and tell me about the first time you went and how you made this connection between the folklore artists there and the university.
Right. Well, I had been working for 4 years on a project documenting Florida folk artists on the web, which was and is folkvine.org. That's folkvine.org. And a friend of mine from the University of Oregon, who is a dean there, really loved that project. And his university and the arts were out making partnerships with people all over China. And he met the president of Shandong University of Art and Design, who has a folk art collection and an archive of 20 years worth of research in Shandong province. And so Doug Blandy said, you must meet my friend Kristin. And next time we come, I will bring her. And you need to look at the Folkvine website because this has potential for all kinds of things.
And it's so amazing. What you do is you go on the website and you're actually like entering a shop.
The Folkvine one, yes, it's a visitor center.
It's a visitor center, and you can click on the different postcards, and there are bobblehead people, and it's such an adorable way to really teach people about folk art.
Right, yes, and so what we wanted to do was use what we had learned on that project and build an international partnership and see what could be done with digital media and film documentary. And so I went the second time to actually do some of the documenting of the artists. And so we spent a week with visiting these teeny little villages and meeting many of these traditional artists. Who
now, I've been told that when you go to a different country, that the folk artists now are very similar to the folk artists that were in this country a few decades ago. That they are in a different culture, a different economic environment than in the United States. Did you find that?
Well, they're certainly in a different economic environment in China. China, as you know, is changing dramatically, and the government is extremely concerned about what's happening to their national identity because so many of the rural people are moving to the cities. And so they want very much to preserve and document the traditional way of life because it is the natural heritage. It's a national heritage. It's about being Chinese. And so we were very much welcomed then into Shandong province by not just the artists but the scholars who took us there and allowed us to meet the people that they had been documenting and working with for a number of years.
So you went out there. What was the first day of shooting like?
The first day of shooting was a roof raising, which is a community project where everybody comes out and wishes good fortune to the family and the house.
Like a barn raising?
Like a barn raising, except this is just putting the roof on. And this one happened to be a cement roof, which means that the family was doing rather well because it wasn't just the natural, yes. And what happens is they build an altar space to the gods to give them all kinds of blessings and food, which the community later shares, and the firecrackers go off. So the firecrackers get rid of the evil spirits. And one of the things we learned right away was that they have all of these beliefs about how you bring good fortune to your family and to your life, but they don't call it a religion. So when I asked, because they have all kinds of gods, like the kitchen gods and the god of fortune, and they put these gods up all over their village and inside their house, they don't consider it religion. They just consider it the traditional way of life.
It's just their lifestyle,
yes,
their culture.
Yes. And then right after that, we met some of the artists who make the woodcut paintings, which are the gods that they use at New Year's.
Now, another one of the forms of art that you did a film on is embroidered shoes.
Right, yes. And I should actually say that this is really student work. The films are shot by students and edited then by other students who are part of our team, which we call the China Vine team.
That is wonderful. I remember being a television student and probably learned more by, I remember one professor saying, "You haven't learned to edit yet." I just didn't have the time. I was writing. At that point I was a writing major. And he actually, we had a newscast coming up and he closed the door, locked me in an editing station and said it has to be on. Oh. I probably learned more that hour and a half or 2 hours, it probably would take me 10 minutes a week later, than I'd ever learned to actually go out and do it.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what these students are doing. They're learning with the film footage that Sarah Long took. She's actually over there now for 4 months. She's studying with the Chinese at Shandong University of Art and Design and getting more information for our team here at UCF to edit. And so students work with faculty mentors. There are 9 faculty mentors on the team and 16 students at this point. And they all have different areas of expertise, and they basically teach each other, and we work in a non-hierarchical fashion where everybody on the team has something to bring, and we just share what it is we know.
Any other anecdotes of the clash of the lifestyles, the clash of the culture when you were there?
Well, let me talk about the woman in her 80s that we met who made the embroidered shoes. This was one of our last artists, and we had spent a whole day documenting weaving, and then came around the corner to meet another artist in the village, and she was sitting out in her patio sewing these absolutely gorgeous embroidered shoes. They make the whole thing and embroider the whole thing. Even the inside of the soles can be on the bottom. Making little tiger shoes for little boys, because if you wear the tiger shoes, then you grow up strong and courageous like the tiger. And it was extraordinary to meet her too, because she was a woman who had bound feet herself. And so all the shoes seemed very, very small and tiny. Everybody wears embroidered shoes, and she was talking about the importance of being able to do this for your family members. And she was actually teaching her daughter-in-law how to do that. And so we were able to capture this extraordinary woman who must have lived a life that we can't even begin to imagine. If you're 80 years, the changes in China. And she wanted to know how old I was. She wanted to know something about, what I did at home. Could she come visit me since I'd come and visited her? Just a very, very wonderful experience, and I think the 2 students who worked on that film did a great job of capturing it, the essence of and the joy of the interchange.
Now, did they consider themselves artists, or is it like the folk art where they're actually doing this for part of the culture, but some other people consider them artists? Do they consider them artwork?
I think that many of them do. I think that's always an issue when you deal with any folk artist, is because it's so much a part of your everyday life that you don't separate what you do and call yourself something special. And it's also hard with the translation, so we're always dealing with our interpreters in terms of how they speak about the artists that we know.
That was the question I was going to ask. Do you bring a translator with you?
We bring several translators with us.
Because there's so many different dialects.
Right. Well, there are, but Mandarin is the one generally that we are dealing with. Although our first volume is basically on Shandong province, and after a year, next May I'm going back, and we are meeting with some other folklorists in Beijing who are going to take us to 2 provinces up near Mongolia. And so we're going to deal with those artists up there. And then there's also another southwestern province that we want to deal with, where They are Muslims and don't speak Mandarin, and our Chinese contact folklorist has to get an interpreter to be able to talk to them. So language is a real issue that we're dealing with, and actually we have a linguist on our team who's trying to help us understand what goes on in the translation so that we can do a good job of really talking about as well as visually depicting this culture.
And really understanding without any barriers to our interpretation of their language what they really mean, because these things are very important to them.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to make it as visual as possible, because we can learn that way without the impediments of misunderstandings through language.
Tell me about these beautiful little boxes.
These are cricket cages, and in China people feel that crickets are bring good luck, and so lots of them have crickets, and they make very special, wonderful, beautiful cricket cages for them. They make a beautiful sound, and people carry them in their pockets.
And they live?
Luck. And they live in these little cricket cages. They feed them every day, give them water, and then put them by their bedside at night, and it will sing to them as they go to sleep. And so the first time I went to China, we went to Shanghai and went to a whole street that is pretty much in the center of town that's all a street on crickets. So when you turn the corner, you hear this singing
cacophony
that is just incredible, and all these different shops where you can buy crickets and cricket cages. And so I bought 3 really nice ones, I think. I didn't buy any of the crickets, but the friends that I was with did buy crickets.
Were they allowed to take them home?
Oh yes, that's the idea. And there's the crickets that are for good luck, that's just for singing, and then there's the crickets that are for fighting, and those are bred for fighting and cost a whole lot more. So it's just like horses, I guess, or show dogs or something that you buy according to how they're bred.
I feel like, I think it was Violet Beauregard in Willy Wonka, I want a cricket.
Well,
not just any cricket.
and we set them free in very special places. And one of the people who got sick one night actually took out the cricket and put it beside him, and he said it helped him so much when he was having a restless night. So it really is quite a beautiful, soothing sound.
And it's also so nice that you brought home something that was so meaningful, because it's not only a trinket that's pretty, it has, you know, the meaning behind it, which is the wonder of folk art.
And there's also experiences. When anybody buys folk art in a different culture, especially one that is so foreign to them or so strange and different, I was purchasing this one, and of course when you go to China, you dicker over the price. It's an expectation, and everybody who sells things has a little calculator so that you can see, and then you type in a number and they type in a number. And I wanted this one. It has this beautiful inlay on it, which is just spectacular. And it has a little section that you take off, and you can see the cricket in the inside. And it was one of their really prized pieces, and I started dickering for it, and they wanted a whole lot of money. And being from the United States, I just figured, well, you just go head to head with them, you just keep at it. And we got quite the audience, including some police, until I realized that as this American female, I probably shouldn't have been that aggressive about getting my price. And so I basically thought, oh, I don't know if I'm in trouble now, but I backed away a little bit and probably paid more than I would have normally. But anyway, I'm so glad I have it.
It was kind of worth it for the story.
It is.
When we come back, we're going to meet, tell me about Tomas Valadares.
Tomas Valadares is actually the production manager for China Vine. He basically organizes what's going to happen and whose jobs are what. For the whole project now.
So he's the one you want to really get to know.
Yes, he is, and he is also a filmmaker and produced one of the films that is up and is working on another one.
Great. Dr. Congdon, thank you so much. We're going to meet Tomas when we come back.
Thank you.
So in 1975, the United States ranked 3rd in the world in the percentage of... Must be the new guy. Guess you can say I was with you guys the whole time. New guy.
UCF and the Central Florida Research Park have helped create 41,000 jobs and contributed about $3.3 billion to the regional economy.
3, and that's only new girl.
So if it seems like your company's growing, it probably is. UCF stands for opportunity.
Welcome back to UCF Expressions. We're talking about the UCF-China Arts Connection. And joining us now is Tomas Valadares, who is an undergraduate student. And you were actually the go-to guy. You were the guy who in control, so to speak, the project manager who helped organize it. And I know in doing a television project, it won't work unless it's really organized well from the first get-go. Now, did you volunteer for this? Did Dr. Congdon come to you and say, would you like to do this? How did it all start?
Well, I actually started working on the Folkvine project as a video editor, and I worked on the podcast as well. And once we started the transition over to ChinaVine, I just kind of fell into this position, and I'm coordinating the production pretty much. And we have a pretty large team, so
it was
definitely a lot of work. Yeah.
I don't know if it was anything like so many things that I have done in television. My boss would come and say to me, not you, of course, I'm not telling, not boss here. And they'd say, can you do this? Yeah, sure. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how do I do this? You know, and you figure it out as you go. Here, of course, I wouldn't have done that. But did you find that happen, that it grows and it's so much different than you expected and you kind of have to mold it and craft it as you go?
Yeah, there's a lot of that here. We have a great team. It's really collaborative process. And it's great because we have a digital media team working on the website. We have a film team working on the videos, and we also have some researchers. So we get into our meetings and we say, okay, we need to do this and we need to get this done. And people will just jump onto tasks. One of our video editors, Erica Rydell, we needed some illustrations done. And she said, you know, I can draw, I'll take a stab at it. And she did a really great job, and now it's up on the website.
You know, even though organization is such a big part of it, you also have to be flexible because sometimes the things that pop up that change is what makes the final piece so good.
Yeah.
All the unexpected things. Did you run across, you're laughing, there must be a lot of things that were unexpected.
Well, you know, it's definitely hard working with the team because we all have different deadlines, and you know, most of us are students, so we're all still in school and we have a lot of other projects going on. But it's really great to see it evolve from our ideas, you know, at the meeting, at the conference room table, how that evolves onto the website. And I have to really give thanks to Eric Sean, who's our web designer, who really put the whole vision together. He takes all of our different ideas and really brings it into one solid piece.
It's so wonderful to work with somebody. I had a partner for many years who was the photographer, editor, and I was the producer, writer, reporter, that when you can actually get to the point where you can click in such a way that it's exactly what you visualize and each bring to something and see the finished piece, that is such a eureka, it's such a good feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To work with somebody else on something and it comes out great.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I have a lot of ideas and I'll just throw them out, really random ideas sometime, and sometimes I'll just, oh, can you change that? And he'll just do it, and it comes out better than I expected, you know. And
it's a big wow.
Yeah.
Now, you didn't get to go.
No.
That totally stinks. But you had to stay here and hold down the fort, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get to go on the last trip, but hopefully I'll be going sometime in the spring to do some more field work. Sarah Long, who is one of our students, she's over there right now, and she went in May as well, and she took most of our video footage. So we've had a lot to do over here, just editing all that footage that we captured in May.
People don't understand that for every hour you see, there's probably 30 hours that were shot.
Oh yeah.
And 100 hours that they edited it.
We had a lot of footage, but we have a great film team that's putting together really nice pieces on the process and the artist, and we get to really see the artist at work in their environment, and it's really great.
That's what's so wonderful about film and videotape, is that even though you didn't get to actually physically go to China, you probably still have the feeling and really feel like you were there.
Yeah, I feel like I know these artists. I feel like I have a really good connection with these artists and their artwork, and that's been really rewarding.
And we're lucky we've got some of the artwork. Show us what you brought with us.
Well, this right here is an example of the woodcut printing, which we have one of our videos is on. And these are depictions of gods. These particularly are kitchen gods, and what they will do is they will make these printings, and then you will hang them in your home, in your kitchen, and these gods will bring you good luck, good fortune, and they will watch over you. And this process is really interesting to watch, because what they do is they make different molds, different wood carvings for each layer of color, and then they'll put a piece of paper down. They'll put paint onto the woodcut. They'll put the piece of paper down, and then they'll press it, and that'll just be one color. And then they'll add another color onto it, and they'll just keep adding layers to it until you get the full color finished product.
That's a very ancient way of doing things,
Yes.
and there's not very many people left that do it. I know if you buy, there are certain wallpapers made in Paris, Zuber, and they hundreds and hundreds make this one panel, and it's thousands of dollars because people don't do that anymore. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's true. A lot nowadays they have the mass-produced versions of these, but the people believe that they're not as powerful, they're not as strong as the handmade ones.
Because it's more than just a piece of artwork to them.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of belief, and there's a lot of tradition that goes into it. And it's really interesting to see how that tradition sort of evolves with the people moving into the cities now, and how a lot of that is being lost because of that shift to the big cities. So that's what we're really focusing on, is trying to document those traditional folk arts and really connecting with the people, because they are the connection with this, they're the living connection with this traditional art.
And then once everybody does move to the cities, and even if it is continued, you run the risk of it becoming more commercial and not done for the reason it was done in the first place.
Yeah.
So show me the dough art.
These are dough, they're called dough flowers. Basically just a simple dough was made, and then they paint them. There's actually a really interesting story, especially on the village that we visited. Originally there were wolves that were around the villages, and they were attacking children. And so they started making figures of children and different objects out of dough. And they would paint them, and they would feed them to the wolves. And they would eventually put poison onto these dough figures, and they would feed them to the wolves. And so the wolves would go away, and they would be safe in their villages. And so now it's more of a toy. But that was kind of how it originated, and it's really.
I noticed they're almost like a hook on it, an ornament. Where do they hang them?
You can hang them, I guess, around your house.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, these in particular, I would guess. There's other ones that are figures of people, dragons and other things, and those are more toys for children.
I'm surprised how light it is. You know,
Yeah.
They have all the dough Christmas ornaments and things here in this country, and they're very heavy, but this is very light.
Well, it goes through several processes of steaming, where they'll make the dough, they'll mold it, then they'll put it into a steamer, and they'll go back and they'll let it dry. They'll paint on it. they'll let it dry again, and it goes through a whole bunch of processes until it becomes what you see here.
You know, at your age, to be exposed to the culture that is so different than ours, were you surprised to see how, you know, a plane flight away, really, what a different world there is out there?
Yeah, it really is striking to see the differences, but it's also really good to see the similarities in the cultures. And these people are people, and they have families, and we want to explore that. As a filmmaker, I'm really compelled by the people, you know, and just to see them interacting and living in their environments and continuing these traditions.
And that's what makes really good film, or really good TV, when it's true.
Yeah.
When it's not something that you've orchestrated and you're just showing what's there. That's what really works. Yeah. If you had your wish and the film Genie came out here, you're just starting out, where would you be in 20 years? At the Academy Awards?
I mean, everyone would like to say that, but
do you have a particular genre you want to go into?
Right now I'm really interested in documentary, and I've worked on a few pieces here at school, and I've started to get into a good rhythm of being able to put stories together from footage, and you know.
We were just talking. I was talking with a documentary producer, and I used to produce documentaries, and it almost felt to me like you were someone who put together pieces of a puzzle. You have this, and you have this, and you have this, and you have this, and you keep moving it around until you can really tell the story the way it is.
Exactly.
And it's really fun to do.
Yeah, I love the process because it's continually evolving. You have an idea of what you're going to do when you go into it, but once you get into it, you start to see that the real story is a little different, and you start to really discover the real story behind your subject.
And the best part is you learn from it yourself, and you get other people to learn from it as well.
Yeah.
Tomas Valadares, thank you so much for joining us, and you'll keep in touch and let us know, when you go to accept the little gold guy. I hear it's heavy. Thanks for having me. But thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on UCF Expressions.